Looked a little at an old sawmill my dad had invested in. Realized two of the bearings didn't have any grease fittings. They were older, so the top of the holder was brought inside and cleaned out a lot of old grease. I was kind of fascinated with the predecessor to the central lubing, where you had a kind of a cup you filled, and as you turned that in, it squeezed grease out. So you only had to kind of play around with the grease maybe once a week or something, and every other hour or something you gave this cup half a twist and it squeezed a little grease out. A little interesting. My dad remembered them being on the machines. We made a couple of holes we had brought in from one of the ones that had grease fittings on them, to kind of see where we wanted to put the grease fittings, and add them, threaded them and added grease fittings, so it would be possible to use a grease gun to add grease to them. Reinstalled everything and added grease to all the grease nipples on it, and also added some fresh grease to the ones that didn't have any grease. We had removed some of the old grease that was kind of caked up in there. Put the upper halves on the bearings holders. I was over greasing another axle that had grease fittings, grease nipples on them. Then the adjuster for the thickness of what you're gonna cut was kind of stiff to move around. My dad had tried lubing it, but it was still kind of annoying, and I realized that the old days they had kind of a oil container at the top where you should fill some thick oil, so I wanted to look at that. The scale had been kind of bent in the move, so that was pulled apart, and my dad straightened that out. Here you can see at the top here you have where you can fill some thick oil, and there is a small drain hole that was caked shut with rust and old muck, but some poking around with an iron rod there and it opened up. I'm not sure if we will find a suitable thick oil to use. There is a cap for it somewhere, or if we're gonna look at something else. Reinstalled the scale and tested it, and some more lubing and cleaning up the hole, and it moved a lot easier. Straightening the scale might have helped a little also. So we'll see if we get a test run of this later this summer. My dad also gave it a little love in the form of some oil on the wooden parts.